Welcome, Sober on Purpose family. I'm so excited to introduce to you Catherine Duncan. She is an integrative spiritual consultant and the author of Everyday Awakening, Living Fully. We're going to hear more about that. What we are really talking about is how you ground yourself while you are supporting the person who is struggling in your life with addiction. And so, Catherine, I'm thrilled that you're here. First, start telling us about your book and how you began to put all that together.
Yeah, great to meet you. Thank you for having me on today. So I'm the author of the new book, Everyday Awakening. It launched last summer, and my book was a calling. I would say to write a book is often a calling. It just poured through me. I saw a vision of my book 10 years ago that I'd be writing a book. And then when the pandemic started, I just at night would sit down after seeing clients all day at a computer after praying and meditating. And it just came through me night after night, week after week, month after month. And my book, Everyday Awakening, is 5 practices for living fully, feeling deeply, coming into your heart and soul. And it's about how can we live a full, vibrant life right now.
Right now, even with chaos and crisis going on around us. And I know you have some personal experiences in the realm of supporting loved ones who have addictions. Can you share with us some of those?
Yeah, I have a large family, and on both sides of my family, my husband's family, and there's been a fair amount of addiction on both sides of the family. And so I've experienced it personally. I've experienced it professionally in my private practice now. So I've definitely walked this path. And a big takeaway message, I would say, it starts first with how do we care for ourselves? We can only truly give to another, love another, accept another to the extent that we love and care for ourselves. So I'm really big about grounding and empowerment and not being a meshed codependent, but just how can you find that deep internal strength within for yourself, but then that you're able to give to others.
So when you've got a situation that there's seemingly one crisis after another, a job loss or maybe a move, or a child is dabbling in things and you feel like you need to handle all this, how would you talk to someone who is getting stuck in, you described it, that enmeshment? I am trying to live their life for them.
Mm-hmm. One big lesson I've learned over the years is you can't change someone. You can influence someone, but you can't change them. So, first I would start with, are you yourself? Do you have a good self-care practice? Are you feeling grounded? Are you full? I mean, you can only give to the extent that you have within yourself. So tuning in, and what does your life look like? I would start there, and that's the angle with where my book is grounded in. But helping another, it's just the steps I start with and have in our family is just, can you identify, is there a problem? What's going on? What's the behavior? Learning about it. And then potentially addressing it with your loved one or friend in a neutral energy. Are you able to talk with them and then not in a position of enabling them or codependency? And potentially, getting support, having an intervention. There's all these steps along this path of helping someone.
Let's back up into my own personal grounding. So I know from personal experience, that's why I do this work, that I was crazy and I was out of control, especially when the addiction was at its height with my husband. And I realized that I was probably crazier than he was and was acting out all over the place. For someone like me who feels that just life is a mess, how do we even begin the first steps of self-care and grounding?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, and I do a lot of speaking on resiliency, how are we resilient? How do we build our inner strength? And it starts with awareness, do you have the consciousness awareness to even start to tune in that, oh, I'm off balance. I'm really in a rough place. And even just that starting point of starting to identify that, to get support. Do you have a family member? Do you have a friend? Do you have someone you can connect with to start sharing, talking with, helping you on this path? But, the steps of just building our inner strength and resiliency, starting to notice, how are you caring for yourself physically, emotionally, spiritually? I mean, these are even just the basics of exercise, sleep, nutrition, having some sense of awareness, self-compassion, practices. I talk about this in my book, mindfulness, of just having some moments to just take a break from the chaotic world we all live in. It's chaos, and so how can you have some minutes, moments to notice, oh, I'm feeling unrest, I'm feeling stress. What can I do to calm right now? My body. And I teach a lot about breathing and meditating and working with your body. There's lots of different exercises and tools. And I talk about in my book of just, how can I right this moment, bring some calmness into my body right now?
So if I'm in a situation, and this truly did happen, to where every conversation is an angry conversation, and I'm oscillating between these two ends of, I'm either yelling or I'm begging and pleading. Where am I depleted, and how do I get myself back to me?
I would say, in that place where it sounds like it was rough and tough and messy, and the tipping scale of anger on both sides, having the wherewithal, like, can you go to an Al-Anon meeting? Can you go meet someone? Can you get some support to help and listen to you? A neutral person that has some, hopefully, skills in this arena to help you start to look inward, to help you find that grounding. You start to first recognize, oh, I have so much anger. Emotions aren't permanent, but when we can start to understand, wow, if I can, the pathway to healing is feeling our feelings, feel the anger a little bit to let it release, then there's some peace, some breathing room. But that also takes typically someone skilled to be able to help the person on that path at that point.
Catherine, it's not my problem. If they would get better, then I wouldn't be so angry. How do I deal with those emotions?
Those are very, very real. But I would say, if it's your partner, your loved one that you're living with, it's a family system. It's a family. So it's together you're walking this path. But how can you walk the path to get the support and help you need, so that you're not enabling, codependent, but starting to slowly process that range of, like, oh, unrest, what's happening with you, to find a little more breathing room, a little more grounding, to differentiate yourself. And, I do share in my private practice, and from many years of working as a chaplain in the healthcare field, we would talk about empathy versus compassion. When we're with someone, you start relating to anyone from a place of empathy. You stand in their shoes, you're empathizing, you're connecting, you're one. But it's so important to step back and come into your own shoes and help from a place of compassion. Otherwise, if you stay in empathy, it's empathic distress and burnout, and you just can't even help the person because you become overwhelmed, dysregulated. You can't even help from that place.
Can you unpack dysregulated? What does that look like in everyday life?
Yep. I would start with our nervous system. Our nervous system, we're either in what's called a parasympathetic state, which is a calm, relaxed state, or we're in a sympathetic state, which is more of a fight or flight or a freeze state. So just even noticing, I'm stressed. A calm state, we're calm, we're grounded. A sympathetic state happens when we're more in a fight or flight. All of a sudden, we might notice our heart's racing faster. We have faster blood pressure, cortisol level. I'll just share. I love Dan Siegel's work. He's at UCLA, author many books. He uses this term, I love it, called flipping your lid. And he uses his hand. So he uses his hand saying, this is your, let's see, brainstem. And, here's your brain, your amygdala cortex, prefrontal cortex. And so all of a sudden something hits your brainstem and your prefrontal cortex flares up. You're in a fight or flight response. And it's going to take a little bit to come back down to be regulated. But so can you, people listening right now, can you tune in and notice, I'm starting to feel stressed. I'm starting to feel unease and agitated. So if you notice that, we know now the calm parasympathetic state, starting with a few minutes of breathing, 5 minutes, breathing, meditating, lowers our blood pressure, heart rate, cortisol. It brings us into a calm, regulated state. We're in more of a flow state. But you know what? Again, it takes awareness. Where am I? What's happening? And tools. My book has 42 exercises to find some sense of presence, calmness, love, flow. We can all do it. And it's a choice and it's a practice.
So awareness. When you've been living in this situation for a year, 3 years, 5 years, how do you teach your clients to even come into awareness that they have choices?
Great question. Often many people in my private practice, some of them have chronic health conditions. A number of people are, doctors, attorneys, executives, women, 50, 60, 70 plus years old who have lived a life and maybe had a lot of amazing experiences in their life, but they're feeling a sense of emptiness, a gnawing, a missing. They're feeling off. They're feeling dysregulated. And often the first session, I will lead them in a few minutes of a breath exercise or an exercise to help them feel into the stillness in this moment, moving out of, we live so many people in our head up, in our mind, coming into our body. It's always in the present moment to feel, to experience. And so many people be like, oh, there's just a feeling of wow, there's more of a grounding piece that they just can literally physically feel. And that starts them on the path.
Do you have a breath exercise that we could do right now?
Oh, yeah, I have many. Okay, how about this one? This is one of my favorites. Everyone listening, I would just invite you sitting comfortably, standing, feel your body right now being supported by the chair, the floor, letting your body just start to soften and relax. Notice if you're holding any tension, tightness, and just breathe into that area for a moment. And then focusing on your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Can you notice when you breathe in the coolness of the air coming in over your nostrils as you breathe in, and the warmth as you breathe out? And can you notice when you breathe in how your lower abdomen expands on the in-breath and recedes on the out-breath? And when you breathe in, I would invite you to imagine, can you imagine peaceful energy coming in through the top of your head, into your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your abdomen, your hips, your legs, your knees, and breathing out through your feet, any stress, any unrest. So breathing in peace, coming through your whole body. Breathing out any stress, any unrest. And if your mind wanders, it's okay. Just come back. Breathing in peace. Breathing out any stress. And we'll do this for the next 30 seconds. And I invite you now to just bring your attention back to the present moment. Let your breathing deepen. And when you're ready, you can also open your eyes.
Oh, I needed that. It's been that kind of a day.
Just that, but just that breathing in, breathing out, brings you into your body, calms your nervous system.
Absolutely. You're an integrative spiritual consultant. How do you work with the spirit of the person? As like you said, some of your clients come to you because they're feeling empty. They're not feeling like there's anything for them. How do you bring the spiritual into the busyness of life?
You know, I've been contemplating the meaning of life and spirituality since I was 11-year-old facing my death. I almost died as a child. And so my whole life has been in this genre. And then I became an ordained minister, a board certified chaplain, and certified spiritual director. That said, my years of working as a chaplain in our #1 trauma hospital and hospice chaplain, I've worked with thousands and thousands of people that are Christian, are not Christian. They might be of Eastern tradition. They might be Native American. And what I think is helpful is for people to tune into what gives you meaning, what gives you life, what gives you that sense of like deep, that sense of awe, wonder, grounding. And you know, I have learned, because I've worked with so many people of all faith traditions, and I'm trained in all faith traditions in my role as a chaplain, that language is limiting, and it's okay to have different language. I mean, for me, and I name this in my book, I use the word God. I also use divine energy, universal energy. There's many names, but for each person, helping the person tune into what is it for you? What is it, that sense of life and aliveness and energy and a sense? What is that? And helping people unpack that.
And when you help them unpack that, what changes for them?
Well, typically they find just a deep peace, a sense of deeper meaning and purpose, a sense of aliveness. It's really lovely.
And we talked about earlier that you can't change somebody else. So when they find that deep peace, what's going on in their outside world? Has it changed?
Maybe, maybe not. But here's the thing I see is, as we change, as it's a choice to keep opening and growing till the day every one of us dies, as we embody more groundedness and more sense of life and aliveness and wonder, everyone are close around us, it impacts them in a really positive way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, big message I share, and I share this in my book, is that, and this is from also working with so many people at end of life as a hospice chaplain. I was with so many people as they died, and many people, the last days, weeks before they died, there was all of a sudden a sense of like, oh, really realizing what it meant to be alive, and that sense of deep like wonderment and awe and preciousness of life. And then they would die. And we all can open into that right now. And it's a choice and it's a practice. And these are things I practice. I practice presence and opening my heart and finding flow in my life. I'm really conscious of it, and I work with it, and I share that with many people I work with.
So the chaos can be going on. The person can still be engrossed in their addiction. The child can still be doing their own path, which is outside of what you expected for them. And you're telling me this, you can still have that kind of peace and wonder and marvel at life.
It's there, yes. If you're in a family situation where it's really heightened and messy, and this happens with all of us in life, things happen, you know, maybe it's fleeting, it comes and goes, but it's there. It is there. And I also share with a lot of people I work with, I note about this in my book, even just how to work with energy. I'm really attuned. I'm certified in different energy healing, Reiki, Qigong, but I've been studying this for many years. And how do you work with energy? There is so much chaos. All you have to do is turn on the news, and it's almost you feel dysregulated. Working with what's called energy boundaries, like how much energy do you consciously take in, do you not take in? I've been doing this for over 20 years, every day of my life, game changer. And also I'll just share, people hearing this, maybe they think, oh, wow, kind of woo woo. Well, the #1 medical textbook in the United States called Integrative Medicine by David Rakel has a section on this, that we are energy. We are energy. We have an energy field. And it's really getting clear of how to work with energy to help you feel grounded and at peace.
Well, and we even talk about it in the Bible where Jesus is in the crowd and the woman who's been bleeding for years touches his robe and he recognizes that energy has left him.
Yes. Yep.
That energy and awareness, because if he's pressing the crowd, a lot of people are there. There's a lot of energy, but he recognizes that has left him and she is healed. So this is not woo-woo. We are connecting. And one of the things that I figured out, I have teenage sons right now. The more frantic that I am, just walking into a room, it creates a frantic atmosphere. Even if I don't say anything, like pick up your shoes, get that out of here, move this, move that. They can feel me when I walk in there. Taking me this long to recognize that I am often creating the environment that I don't want. By coming in with that frantic drive, not even greeting them style energy. What is it? The breathing exercises? How do I become aware enough of that so that I don't, you were talking giving, taking, neutralizing. How do people become aware of their energy?
And we do model, my children are a little older, late 20s. We model this to our children. So to the extent that we are grounded and find a deep sense of more well-being and flow, our kids learn that from us. Our kids, until they move out at 18, I mean, they learn so much from us as parents. And, to the extent that every one of us can learn to, like, okay, I want to find more peace in my life, more grounding in my life, and learn how to do that. Your kids will benefit. That's what they'll learn. That's the takeaway. So again, that just awareness, tuning in. And I share with people, just tuning in and the knowing that, we can watch our thoughts. We typically have 60 to 80 thoughts a day. I mean, we can watch our thoughts come and go. We can watch our feelings come and go. So starting to find, okay, what today can help me feel a little more present? And everyone hearing this right now, maybe some people resonate with breathing or meditating or body movements or walking out in nature, using your senses. I mean, just choosing one, or journal writing or working with aromatherapy. There's so many different angles of, like, okay, how can I find within my heart and soul a little more space and breathing room and ease, and keep growing that. And the more you practice this, I promise, you'll keep wanting to practice, because you feel like, oh, that's where, I mean, if I don't meditate every day, I just feel like I have to. I mean, prayer meditation I'm steeped in doing this every day of my life, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. I mean, I'm conscious of this.
Absolutely. And I can remember the old self going, where would I have time for that? I have 2 little kids. I have to manage the house and the 400 chickens and the dogs and the horses and da 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 da. My management became better when I was so exhausted that I did sit in front of the wood stove and I did meditate, because it was all that I could do. So God knew what I needed and physically basically forced me into it. And that's where I would really encourage people. Breathing is free. learning how to breathe, learning how to do the meditation, the simple meditation technique that you showed us already, that breath
Mhm.
work will change everything and it will stop that. I almost think about it like a cloud. My boys know that cloud enters the room before I show up. And if mom is already in this anxious things need to get done cloud, what do? They scatter. But if
Mhm.
I come in and be more present, they don't disappear. So that's where I imagine your work and my work coincide, is helping people to recognize that they are creating this situation they're walking into, which gives them huge power
Mhm.
to change it.
Mhm.
How have you seen those changes happen when people work with you?
Mm. Oh, just a deepening into their soul, into their heart, into a sense of aliveness, into their life is richer and fuller. And it's such a treasure, a gift to walk with people, helping them find that deep inner peace. It's lovely. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So, Catherine, I really appreciate you being here. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us about your book. I'm assuming it's on Amazon.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Yeah, my book Everyday Awakening is on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble. It's all over. I have a website, my book everydayawakening.com. I'm on all the social media platforms, on Instagram, Catherine Duncan, it's MABCC. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook, my company name Learning to Live. So I'm all over.
and you do work with end of life folks and palliative care and all of those pieces as well.
I do. I did very concentrated as a chaplain in hospice for years. Now I have a private practice and I see people one-on-one providing emotional, spiritual support for a range. I mean, some end of life, but then a chunk of people it's just wanting a deepening, wanting to find more meaning, wanting to find more grounding and aliveness. And that's a big part of the work I do now.
Fantastic. Well, Catherine, I can't thank you enough for being here. This, like you said, there's 42 exercises in your book, lots to work on, and you gave us a simple one that we could use anytime, anywhere to bring ourselves back to present, to bring ourselves down to the grounding. Thank you for being here with the Sober on Purpose family.
Thank you. Really fun to talk with you.